If you were to sit down and try and manufacture what you think the epitome of a rock star should be, Randy Rhoads.
Randy personified the guitar hero, but that's cheap talk when you use it to describe Randy Rhoads because he was so much bigger than that.
He was like a Mozart. He was like a Beethoven. The guitar was part of his soul.
78, 79, a new breed of heavy metal was coming in.
And at that time, Ozzy was trying to get his feet under him and had his struggles.
The guys in Black Sabbath said, he's got to go. And then to find Randy, it was a gift from God.
Randy had given Ozzy a new lease on his career.
Ozzy truly cared for Randy, and Randy really cared for him. But things got crazy. Here's this rock star who's made it big, and it didn't fit right with him.
He was getting fatigued from touring. I could see that he just needed a break.
Randy didn't know how ugly this business can be.
He knew that there was so much more that he could do as a musician, but he did not have that opportunity.
There was a tragedy here at Flying Baron Estates. His single-engine aircraft cartwheeled after striking the tour bus that, in fact, had Ozzy on board.
Ozzy was sitting on the ground. He was in shock. We were all in shock.
It was just like a horrible dream, a horrible, horrible dream.
It is my great honor to officially induct the greatest to ever lace him up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the one, the only, Ozzy Osbourne!
Thank you. I've been fortunate over the years to play with some of the world's greatest guitar players, but I want to spend one thing for a guy by the name of Randy Rhoads. If I hadn't met Randy Rhoads, I don't think I'd be sitting here now.
It's true. Randy came along at a time when Ozzy was so low, so depressed. His hope had gone. I'm Sharon Osbourne, and I had the honor of managing Randy Rhoads from 1980 till he died. Randy just lived and breathed his guitar. It was an extension of him. And Randy had a calming influence on Ozzy. Randy nurtured Ozzy's talent like nobody had ever done. And it was a great, great friendship and working relationship.
Playing with Randy I would get chill bumps sometimes, you know. It was incredible. He plays something and it sparks something in you that I wouldn't otherwise play. Don't know where it came from. When you're in a musical context like that, it's called chemistry. Well, it's a lot more than that. It's a spiritual thing for me. There's something in his tone and his sound and the way that he played and what he played that I have not witnessed anywhere else on the planet.
Music drove Randy. It was ingrained in him. My mom had a music school, and she was a professional musician. We call her the boss lady, or the pit bull. She was pretty strict to us kids. growing up. It was like, okay, now you got to take lessons, you guys. What do you want to pick? Of course, he picked the guitar. He was always, that's one thing about our childhood, had a guitar in his hand. And sometimes it could get annoying. He'd plug that in and be blasting it in the neighborhood. And I cannot tell you how many times the cops came to the door, pounding on the door, because a neighbor would call and complain.
Randy was so dedicated to the music, so dedicated that he convinced me that we shouldn't do anything else except this. I was Randy's best friend. We met in junior high school in 7th grade. I learned how to play bass from Randy while he was learning his leads. But the thing that drove our obsession was when we saw Alice Cooper in concert.
We got no choice. Are you girls and boys?
When we saw Alice Cooper, we went, that's us. That's what we want to do. We're going to be huge rock stars. We're going to do everything we can to make that happen. And we formed Quiet Riot. It was very, very obvious that Randy got better every minute. I mean, he was the whole show. If anybody could steal a show, it was Randy.
This is what he's born to do, is perform and be a performer. I remember one day we were in the kitchen and he was sitting at the counter, and my mom said to him, you know, Randy, you really truly have a God-given talent. And he just had tears rolling down his cheeks.
Randy and his mom had a really close relationship. You know, he always respected her, which is true. But she was almost like a mentor for his career that he was building, but he didn't even know that he was building a career.
Getting signed for us was an exercise in frustration, and I personally felt that Kevin, our singer, was our problem. Kevin was real supportive of what the management decided for us to do, particularly the type of music they wanted us to play. They'd say, you guys need to be like the Bay City Rollers. And I'm like,
On Saturday night.
Bay City Rollers? Man, we want to be Alice Cooper. But Randy just kind of went with what Kevin was going along with, and, you know, it began to cause problems in me and Randy's friendship, which eventually led to lots of fistfights, arguments, all the drama you can imagine. It was going down. And Kevin, he went to the management and he said, Kelly's out of control, he's dangerous, you know, and the management said, yeah, he's out of here. So that was it.
My name is Rudy Sarzo, and I play with Randy Rhoads in Quiet Riot from 1978 to 1979. In late 1979, record companies focused on groups that were new wave and punk. The music that we were making, the image, everything about us, to the music industry in Los Angeles, we were dinosaurs. So we were like, we were disheartened.
Randy was very frustrated. He really thought it was gonna go somewhere. He really did. And finally one day, my mom said to him, you know, Randy, the reason Quiet Riot never made it is because that music just wasn't that good. And I think he was really crushed because he thought, you know, they were gonna make it. But it's interesting how things work out, that then he gets the call from Ozzy.
It's the first festival that I've ever been to where everything seems to be so beautiful and peaceful. We just go in and play our music then, because that's all it's about, you know.
Black Sabbath, they were a big band back then. Kick-ass players, man. I mean, those tours and those records were huge.
Any band is like a marriage. At the beginning, it's fantastic. We love each other. You're on the honeymoon period. And then if you get success, it's just, yes, we're doing this forever. I love you, bro. I love you, bro. And then the rot sets in. One gets more attention than the other one, and they get envious, and it's inevitable, and every band falls out.
I didn't get on with certain members of the band, and they didn't get on with me, and they didn't see eye to eye like I was seeing eye to eye, and it was clashing.
It was 3 against 1. They wanted him gone. And then when he got let go from Sabbath, he was alone, totally. Ozzy's always had a lack of self-confidence. He's never really been, I know I'm great. I'm a great front man. I'm this, I'm that. He's never been that sort of guy. Back then, my dad was a manager and was taking care of Black Sabbath. And I used to do the day-to-day management. The guys in Sabbath thought that we would drop Ozzy. And that just wasn't the case. We all knew that Ozzy had a huge talent, great charisma, and that people loved Ozzy. So Sabbath went, we kept Ozzy, and Ozzy's music is guitar-based. So, you know, you need that lead guitar player. It was critical.
I was looking for people for weeks, and I'd given up all hope of ever finding anybody out there.
Everybody that had gone through, just, you know, Ozzy never moved. His head was down. It was like, oh, here we go. It's another Eddie Van Halen wannabe, and, you know, yada, yada.
When it was proposed to Randy to go on this audition, Randy didn't want to go. He wasn't a fan of Black Sabbath, but my mom said to him, it's an opportunity to learn and grow, and you can always do what you want later on the road. And that's why I think he actually went, because of my mom, 100%.
Suddenly this guy weighing about 2 ounces wet suddenly knocked the door with his guitar, and I thought, wow.
I just brought a tune-up amp. No effects, nothing. And they said, okay, play. I didn't know what to do, and I just started warming up.
There was nobody that had a sound that you instantly went, oh my God, who's playing that?
I heard him play at 4 o'clock in the morning when I was absolutely drunk out of my mind, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing, and I said, well, you know, let's have a go.
Ozzy went home to Birmingham, and then Randy followed, and they started writing together, just the two of them.
At that time, Ozzy had a following from Black Sabbath. He was very well established, you know. But Geezer Butler and Tony Iommi, they were the guys that came up with the songs, and they were the impetus at Black Sabbath. And songs are everything. So that being said, there was a lot of pressure on Ozzy because he was coming out of that bubble of safety. And what Randy was bringing to Ozzy's table was unknown.
When Randy first went to England, he had never really been away from home. And he was like, he was gone. Like, they put it together very quickly.
I really wanted to do something totally different. And Randy's just a guy that's come along and he's given us all this enthusiasm and the youth back to want to have a go, you know.
Randy asked Ozzy, what do you want me to write? And Ozzy said, be yourself. The fact that Randy was not a fanboy of Black Sabbath, that really made him gel with Ozzy. They were able to see each other as musicians, bandmates. And this way, the band was like a clean slate.
Randy just knew how to work with him and pull the best out of him. And he'd got that nurturing aspect from his mother being a music teacher. He encouraged Ozzy constantly. It worked in every which way for the pair of them.
Once he went with Ozzy, he just like blossomed. He needed that platform to grow, and he didn't have that with Quiet Riot.
Ozzy's melody lines were better than ever. And he was happy and he didn't feel self-conscious and there was no bullying and it was just fantastic. It was much more melodic. It was a whole new sound. They took the Sabbath and made it more commercial. And with Randy's spark, it was like a total new lease on Ozzy's musical side of his life. It was just electric.
Randy's playing with Ozzy was just amazing. He's just coming from a whole nother universe. You know, his solos are just epic, masterpiece songs within a song.
A lot of people, sometimes when they go to put a lead down, sometimes they think of themselves too much first and they want to put it all out. But you got to think what kind of song it is. You've got to put something that suits the song really well.
That was it. It was the end of Sabbath for us, for me, and the beginning of Ozzy.
By the time that I joined the band, there was already a camaraderie between Sharon, Ozzy, and Randy. It was the family.
At that time, I'm a freelance drummer just looking for a gig, you know? And I got a call and said, would I be interested in hooking up with Randy and Ozzy? And I said, sure. So we showed up in LA and we started rehearsing for the Blizzard of Oz tour. And so it was in that time frame that I really got to know Randy, and his playing was allowing me to be the best I could be in those songs. The album was starting to get some airplay and the shows were starting to really pick up, going from small little venues to bigger venues.
Ozzy are here. Hi. It's Ozzy Osbourne and the Blizzard of Oz in town tomorrow night at the Auditorium Theater, and they'll also...
It was amazing how Sharon was able to build the band. The only way to do it was with constant touring. But sometimes when you're on the road, it can be very, very tough, especially back then.
Randy loved Ozzy, but Ozzy's at that period in his life, and it's well documented, he was drinking, and things got crazy.
Nobody under the influence of any alcohol or drug is the same person. It's like the total Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde syndrome.
I mean, I buy some fireworks one time. So I'm letting these rockets fly down the corridor of this hotel, and I'm drunk as a fool. Next minute, handcuffs, back of the car, jail for the night. I am banned from Salt Lake City.
Well, that was hard for Randy. You know, it wasn't about the partying part for him. I'm not saying he was an angel, but Randy was very serious and focused, and I think that's why he started taking the classical lessons.
We would be on the road, and Randy would have his itinerary, and he would be phoning ahead, trying to book time with a classical teacher, and mostly in major markets like Chicago or New York or bigger cities, because that's where the really good teachers, because it was hard for Randy to find a teacher that knew more than he knew. It wasn't until I heard him playing his classical in the hotel room, you know, just jamming around on his classical. It was transformational. It was just like that's what God put him on the planet to do.
There's not many people that I know would have done that, actually called up a guitar teacher when you're in a hit rock band. It's just not very common.
Randy Rhoads has plenty to be pleased about since he teamed up with Ozzy Osbourne. The editors of Guitar Player magazine have just presented the hard-driving guitarist with the Best New Talent Award for 1981.
Makes you realize there's a lot of responsibility, and I want to really get myself together and work harder, you know, because I'm really proud and honored, and I don't want to stop here, you know.
Here's this rock star who's made it big. People are recognizing him now, and it didn't fit right with him.
I don't think he ever saw himself as a rock star at all. You know, he saw himself as a musician, and he was deeply devoted to the band. There's no question about that. He knew that there was so much more that he could do as a musician, but first he needed to be educated.
Ozzy Osbourne is currently on tour promoting his newest album, Diary of a Madman. His stage set is a $250,000 haunted mansion, complete with trolls, secret passageways, and a giant mechanical hand.
Let me see your fucking hands!
The Diary tour was actually a bigger tour because there was the history of the first record, and we'd gone out and done some really good shows, and we were starting to get some real momentum, you know.
By the time we went out for Diary, within a few months, we were headlining arenas all over the United States.
One, two.
You know, you get that person that's like the perfect rhythm for you in your life. And we all had this rhythm going, which was amazing. And, you know, I'd got things planned for Randy. Randy was signed to me for 5 years. There was never anything but love between the three of us.
Do you have any album in the can right now?
No, I've got ideas for 2 albums, which I'm hoping to record as soon as this tour finishes, which will be about September of this year. Hopefully it'll be released around January or February next year.
My father had Ozzy signed for, I think, 5 albums. We'd given him 2. We were leaving because he wasn't paying anybody any royalties. And we came to an agreement that if he had a live Black Sabbath album, he would take it as us leaving. Do a show live, record it, put it out. We weren't even going to promote it. It was like, okay, take it, we're gone. It was Ozzy's ticket to get away from my father. And getting rid of my father was freedom for everybody.
Randy was the goose that laid the golden eggs when it comes to songs. So there wasn't any golden eggs that needed to be laid for that album to happen.
Randy didn't want to play Black Sabbath music, and I totally get it. I want to do new music. I'm like, we'll do that later. Let's do this now. Get it over with. Move on. Next.
He came to me and he said, I don't want to do that. That was Randy's position. It was just a musical place that he wasn't interested in going in. And Ozzy was very unhappy because there was a little of an alienation within, you know, the camaraderie of the group.
Randy's experience of business was, he was very naive. So he should have been. He was a little kid, wide-eyed, didn't know how ugly this business can be. And at that time, being involved with my father, it was very threatening. And so it was very hard on all of us.
You know, he was all about musical integrity. And I think Randy, at that moment that project was presented to go in and record the Black Sabbath material, he had just had road fatigue. I could see that he just needed a break.
He was a very homesick person. I know how happy he was when he came home. As a matter of fact, one of the last times he came home, we were standing at that counter. That's where she told him, you have a God-given talent. That's where everything happened, at that counter. Anyway, so we're standing there talking, And all of a sudden he goes, oh no. Randy's cigarette had burnt a hole in the counter, and he was mortified. And he's like, oh my God, what do I do? Mom's gonna be so pissed at me. I said, don't worry, Randy, we'll just cover it up with some stuff. Don't worry about it. That's what we did. And dang it, that it's still there. That was the last time I saw him, March 15th, 1982.
My memories of the very last show, it was just another great show. I could see that Randy and Ozzy were getting closer than they had been. The tension was gone in the bus. Randy, he had agreed to make the record, and there was an air of camaraderie.
It was a long bus drive.
You talking about the bus ride to Florida?
Yeah. I think we listened to some of the show tape from that night because we recorded every night on a cassette. It was part of the ritual of the bus drive, you know.
On that last bus journey from Knoxville, Tennessee to Orlando, Florida, he turned around to me and said he wanted to quit rock and roll. He wanted to go to UCLA and get a degree in classical guitar. And I said to him, well, you can do that, get the rest of your life to do that. And he wasn't really into, he wasn't a guy that was into being a mega really rock star. He tried it, he was a success of it, and you know, he wanted to move on.
We were traveling to Florida, and the air conditioning had broken. And we got to the base where they were then going to fix the air conditioning. And unbeknownst to me, not only did this bus company rent out buses, but they rented out helicopters and little planes. I never allowed anybody that wasn't working personnel to travel on the bus. But the tour manager had allowed the bus driver's wife to travel on the bus. Unbeknown to us, she wanted a divorce from him. I was not a party to it, but they were going back and forth about their divorce while they were driving. And this bus driver was a pilot. We never knew. And apparently I'm told that this bus driver who had been taking coke told everybody that he could take them up in a plane. I don't know the conversations, because Ozzy and I were in the back, fast asleep.
It was early in the morning, and we'd been traveling all night, and I'd heard the plane buzzing. Randy came in, and he said, come on, T.A., let's go for a joyride. And I said to him, I don't want to get up and go get on the plane right now. And Randy just chuckled. And he's talking as he's fading out as he goes out the front door of the bus, you know. That was the last conversation I had with Randy.
I had a lady that worked with me called Rachel. And she was not only somebody who worked for me, but she became like a mum that I never had. And I adored her, and so did Ozzy. And she ended up going up in the plane with Randy.
I hear the plane buzzing, and I go to get up and make a cup of tea, and I'm making a cup of tea, and bam! And there's still hot tea on me because the bus kind of jolted like that. And this really strong smell of fiberglass, and there was a little gaping hole in the top that appeared behind me on the top of the bus.
Apparently, the bus driver's wife had gone outside the bus and was standing by the door of the bus. And the plane came down, hit the bus, and that's what woke Ozzy and I The bus kind of tilted like this.
I run out of the bus. There's this big black cloud of smoke coming up from, it looks like it's coming from the top of the bus.
There was this terrible smell of fuel, and all we could see was fire. I just went out, and the tour manager was on the grass with his hands over his head. The other guys were running around screaming. I kept thinking, you're asleep, wake up, wake up.
I couldn't believe what was happening. I couldn't believe the possibility of what was happening, because every time it's like, this is what's happening, it's like, no, this is not what's happening. I was trying to reimagine what happened as being something else. And then it just goes back to, no, this is what's happening.
It's really hard for me to recall because I went into shock, literally. We were all in shock and didn't know it at the time. It was a slow realization that Randy had been killed.
It was like a horror movie. Body parts. And I was screaming at the tour manager, and I can remember taking my shoe off and whacking him across the head.
When Cheryl realized that Randy and Rachel had been killed, she came unglued. She just went off on our tour manager, screaming, how could you let that baby get on that plane?
I ran into the house where the present owner and his wife were in the house. She was washing up, and he was on the phone. And I'll never forget it. He was on the phone, and he had his feet on a footstool in the house. And I'm like, you've got to call the police. Call the police. He's going, oh, I'm doing it, ma'am, I'm doing it. And she's washing up. And I'm like, what the fuck are you two doing? There are people dead. There's a fire. What the fuck are you doing? We need help. Help us. And it was like a Fellini movie. It was moving slow, just like a dream, and you was just trying to make it stop this madness. Nothing made sense.
What do you recall of Ozzy's reaction?
He was on the ground, sitting on the ground. He was in shock.
Randy Rhoads, lead guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne's band, has been killed, along with two others, in a fiery plane crash in Leesburg, Florida.
It was just like a horrible dream. A horrible, horrible dream. We were treated like shit. The local sheriff was just abusive and foul, and a million different stories coming out that we were fucking around. Nobody was fucking around at anything.
It took a while to get a clear picture of what actually happened. And I was told that the plane's coming in like this, perpendicular, that the tip of the wing of the plane clipped, hit the bus. That's how the window got shattered. And then it flipped over the bus, hit trees, because the bus was parked like this, that hit the trees, and then from the trees, it crashed onto the garage, and there were a couple of vehicles in the garage, and they exploded on impact.
One of the things I've heard is the story about the pilot sort of heading towards the bus because of his wife. What's your opinion on that?
Yes, it is, in my opinion, that is a really strong possibility. She was standing right there in front, right there in the doorway. So he's just trying to put things together. Why Andrew decided to all of a sudden, after driving all those hours, to get up on the plane twice. Certain things just don't add up. In a situation like that, there's more questions than answers. And even if you get an answer, it just leads to another question.
Has a replacement for Randy been determined yet, Don?
No, a replacement hasn't been determined yet, but a decision will be made in the course of the next few days.
We were beat up emotionally. The police, after asking us questions and so on, released us, and we went to a nearby hotel. But, you know, the walls start caving in, you know. So I just get out of the room, walk down the block, and there's a church. I say, okay, let me get some solace here, some comfort. I entered the church and immediately go to the first pew, and I kneel and put my head down. Then I hear this wailing, moaning, agony. And I just had to raise my head. And it was Ozzy, the very front.
We were all in shock for so long, for so long. And then you have to go back and try and make sense of a story to Randy's mum. Excuse me.
Sorry.
Can I go in, please?
Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
We got a tissue, Mel.
We don't have long enough, guys.
Okay, now there's a few questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Now you know why I didn't want to talk about Randy.
I went up to my mom's, walked in that door. Never forget, my mom sitting in this chair. There was the most blank expression on her face. I ran over to her and I crawled in her lap. It was horrible. Because she just was like in so much shock and so much disbelief. It was like, Mom, breathe, breathe. I thought she was literally gonna have a heart attack and die. And it's just the worst day of my life ever.
At the time, I was just trying to be there as a family member and help out. And, you know, whatever they needed, I was there. We had to go get the gear, his amps and his guitars and all this stuff. So I helped me, Kathy, and Mrs. Rhoads drove there in my dad's truck. And it was really sad driving there. Nobody talked in the car. It was just so like everybody was so somber.
Driving that equipment in the back of the truck coming home, that was just, oh my God. They'll never be played again.
The family, they were never the same, you know. Of course, it's going to tear them apart, and it did. And especially his mother was never the same. And, you know, I felt for Ozzy because I know how much it hurt me. So I really know it really hurt Ozzy. And when I saw Ozzy on Letterman, he looked like he was just about to break down. He came pretty close.
And the last week, guys, the people out there, I've lost two of the greatest people in my life. But I'm going to continue because Randy would have liked me to continue, so would Rachel. And I'm not going to stop because you can't kill rock and roll.
I was terrified because I knew if Ozzy stopped, I'd never get him back out there again. I would have never gotten him back out there. Ever.
Sharon kept the whole thing together, the whole thing moving. We knew that if Ozzy went home, canceled the tour, he would have drank himself to death.
I started this whole new thing with Randy, and Randy was like my younger brother, you know. I mean, it was a terrible tragedy. I'm still in shock from it, actually.
How are we going to carry on, or what was the next act in the play after Randy passed? Whoa, it's a good one, man. trying to get out and do those dates that we did shortly after Randy's passing. What kind of pressure that was. It was immense because people wanted the magic that only Randy Rhoads could bring to that music.
This is one thing that it took me years to understand, but I knew about it. But to fully understand it, decades later, is the fact that it's our responsibility, the ones who are left behind, to celebrate the memory and the music of those that go before us.
Ozzy had a lot of pressure and a lot of weight on his shoulders, you know. He had to navigate that loss. And even knowing full well that Randy Rhoads would never be replaceable. There were a couple of really capable musicians that came in after Randy's passing, but we didn't have that force field around us. Randy was the heartbeat of the whole operation, and with that missing, it was tough. It was tough.
You don't get over, you don't forget. You just try and get through every day.
I loved him as a person. I loved him as a human being. He was the first guy person that came into my life and gave me hope.
Randy saved him. And Ozzy, I think, did everything he could to always put Randy as the forefront of everything he's done.
Ozzy has always been very, very faithful, loyal, and sincere about his feelings about Randy. I appreciate that.
It's just like with Jimi Hendrix. I mean, you know, Jimi had 3 years and all that body of work, and it just, you know, that's how much of a meteor that he made. And same thing, I think, with Randy. He was insanely brilliant.
When I joined Ozzy in 1981, every night, Randy, it was like going up a ladder musically. He would get higher, going to a whole different level every single night.
It's one thing hearing his record and you go, oh man. It's one thing hearing it on the radio, but when you're wrapped up in it and you're immersed in it, when you're right at the source of the stream, of the living water, I mean, it's supernatural, man.
He was a special, very special person. I like to think that he was too good for this world.
He was on another path at the end, and he wanted to try and explore and spread his wings. And that's the tragedy of him. He didn't get to really fulfill his true potential. He wasn't done, and he was only beginning.
I think about Randy all the time and love that he's not forgotten. Music lovers want to know about him. He's become this mystical little guy that not many people knew well, and he will live on forever. Music is something that doesn't die. After we've gone, it will live on.